Hallam Rodia, and welcome to Sudbury.com's Person of Interest, where each episode we get to meet interesting Sudburyans who have a story that's just begging to be told. Now, so far we've profiled 6 persons of interest. If you missed any of the previous episodes, you'll find links to them below this video. Now, Sudbury has been in the midst of a bit of a cultural renaissance over the past 5, maybe 10 years. It seems like there's been an explosion of everything from film production and festivals, food, public art, and a thriving local theater scene. And a lot of that is because a group of creative types have decided to stay here and build an art scene from the ground up instead of moving elsewhere to pursue their dreams. So today we're going to meet one of those people. His name is Alessandro Costantini, and it's hard to find a Sudburyan who hasn't seen him perform somewhere on the stage. But he's probably best known as the founder and artistic director of Yes Theatre, which he started when he was still a teenager. He's now 24, the company is going into their 8th season, so we caught up with Alessandro here at my old high school, Sudbury Secondary. They were doing a rehearsal of their new production, Billy Elliot the Musical. Take a look. You founded Yes Theatre in 2010, right? And you were still a teenager then, weren't you? How old were you?
I was 16 when we came up with the idea. Yeah. And then by the time we had our first show, I was 17.
So, you know, at that age, what inspired you to start a theater company, and not just a theater company, but a theater company that was going to, you know, tackle some really kind of big, high concept musicals?
I guess, well, Hair, the musical, had a Broadway revival in 2009, or 2008 actually, and I just got the cast recording and I totally fell in love with it, and I was going to St. Charles at the time, and I was going into my graduating year, and I said, we should do Hair next year. Couldn't really fly at high school. Yeah. And then I kind of just was like, well, let's just do our own thing.
So yeah, I mean, Hair too. Probably not the best show for high school, a drama class, but it is. I mean, like it's really it's all centered on the kind of hippie counterculture, the late '60s and the Vietnam War. But it was also, like, as a piece of theater, was kind of edgy and groundbreaking at the time too.
Hair was like the first rock musical, you know. And it totally led the way for musicals like Rent and Next to Normal and these things that we now consider like pieces of the musical theater canon, things that shifted the playing field. Yeah. You know, we were rehearsing at my high school, but some days we wouldn't have the key, so we would just like plug in my iPod to the car speaker and open the doors and rehearse in the parking lot. Yeah. And on Canada Day, we all like went around and we're asking people for money for the show, like just like hippies in Central Park. Right? Yeah. So the narrative of the piece just like lifted us, and we kind of just started living it as our truth for those couple months, you know.
But how do you approach a show like that when you're still in your teens? It's your first production as this new company in this town. Like how?
I mean, that's the thing, right? You think like it's profane or it has all this adult language and stuff, but the reality is, like, that's when we start experiencing all that, right? And actually using that language. And there was also something really empowering with just realizing, like, this is our story. And you know, I think it's easy for, like, in professional companies, they'll start saying, like, well, you know, we need older actors to play young, right? Yeah. When is Juliet ever played by a 14-year-old, right? Yeah. Because they don't think that they have the skills necessary, right? But if you actually give young people the time and the proper care and the process, I think you're able to get some really profound performances out of them.
You debuted the company with Hair. Your next production was Rent, right? Yeah. Those kinds of productions weren't necessarily missing from Sudbury's landscape, like STC, the professional Sudbury Theatre Centre, the professional company, did its share of musicals, and Theatre Cambrian, of course, the amateur, the community theatre did its fair share. So what made you think there was an audience for more musicals, basically?
You know, Kyle, I don't even think I thought about that at all. That's what that, like, up until like kind of recently, I didn't even consider like, will people want to come? Right. I just considered like, we have to do this. Yeah. And then, like, you know, it quickly became a reality that I obviously have to consider these things.
Sure,
like, not everything's going to sell out, right? It's interesting because, like, what I thought Yes was when I started it is very different than what it is now, right? As I received my training through theater school and started working professionally more, I realized what this company actually is. A company that takes professional artists, emerging artists, and puts them together, right?
Okay.
In Billy Elliot, we have kids who have never been on stage before, next to actors who have 10 seasons at Stratford, right? So this isn't really happening anywhere else in the world.
When you first founded the company, and maybe until now, what does the Yes in Yes Theatre stand for?
It stood for Youth Entertaining Sudbury when we began, and it was like a friend of mine. When we were in high school, I sent a group message out to be like, let's start a theater company. And then we were all coming up with names. But I remember my friend Blair, her mom, she's like, my mom has a suggestion for a name.
Always a good start.
Yes Theater, like an acronym.
Yeah.
Y.E.S. for Youth Entertaining Sudbury. And I was like, that's dope, I love that. And I mean, we've since dropped Youth Entertaining Sudbury, but...
Because the company has changed since then.
Yeah.
Right.
It used to be only like 16 to 23.
Yeah.
Right, but then I'm like, there's not a lot of musicals that are only that.
Yeah.
So now we pick youth-driven narratives, right? Stories that are about young people or about their struggles or about them kind of finding themselves.
Sure.
Yes is just also the way I think about the world. I'd rather say yes than say no to like everything, right?
You tend to be in a lot of the productions that you also direct. How the hell do you pull that off?
Well, that stopped, actually. I can't do that anymore. Like, Jenny, right, is, like, when we've always have, like, directed it and choreographed together, and, like, she co-directs, you know, like, she is, like, as integral as I am to the show and to the vision and everything. So that's why it has worked in the past, because I've had a team of people who have been, like,
kind of lean on.
Yeah, exactly. You could be like, I'm going to be in for a moment. I need you to, you know, and the actors as well. We kind of understand the conditions in which we're working.
Because it's not like film when you can, you know, you can shoot something and then you can watch playback and kind of judge yourself a little bit maybe and step back.
And in terms of musicals that I like really love to act in and really want to direct as well, there's only like 2 left at this moment, so it will happen, but it won't be for me.
Maybe just wait that out a little bit. Yeah. You're in your 8th season now, right? That's a pretty good longevity for, you know, an upstart indie theater company anywhere. You know, Toronto. That's impressive.
Totally.
Here, that's almost miraculous in a lot of ways. And especially considering that right now the kind of theater ecology in this town is facing some hard times. So how have you managed to sustain this company over 8 seasons?
I think all levels of theaters are integral, I think, right? Community theater is necessary. It's like when people go see Timbits hockey, it's not necessarily a good hockey game, right? But you're not going to go and be like, I'm never watching hockey again, right?
You understand what you're watching and how it fits in.
In some communities, people will go see a community theater production, and it's not going to be the same quality as something at like Stratford,
no,
right?
Which wouldn't be fair.
Exactly.
Wouldn't be a fair comparison.
But some audiences don't have the discernment to make that difference, right? To establish that difference. I think it comes down to the work on stage has to be good, right? It has to be immensely compelling. And because where we are, we have a really big responsibility to like changing people's lives, right? If you walk out of the theater and you go like, it didn't change my life, then I think it's a failure, you know?
Theater's in a weird time and kind of
so much competition.
Exactly. I mean, I can watch a movie on my phone. So
you could go home and Netflix.
I can go home and Netflix and chill.
That's
you know, going to be.
Which is great.
I know. I just said that. It's fine.
That's okay. That's the reality.
But it's the reality. You can't do that in the theater.
No.
Well, you can, but
it'd be frowned upon.
You know, you might get escorted out. But yeah, like how? So you know, the theater has to find a way to stay relevant, especially for people of my age and of your age and of you know beyond. And so, how do they do that?
I battle with all this all the time, even when I'm working, thinking like, is the audience going to get this, or like, is that lame, or is that going to affect them the way it affects me? And then I kind of stop myself and going, well, this is my art. For it to be truthful, I need to honor my own choices and my impulses. And I think if we start to tailor things and think like this is what everyone's gonna like, right? Then it actually doesn't become authentic. It becomes less and less authentic to yourself.
When you see a company like the Sudbury Theatre Centre, which has you know been around for 45, 46 years in this community. You see a company like Theatre Cambrian, which has been around for at least 30, almost 3 decades, I think. These companies are both facing some really serious financial difficulties right now. Does that make you nervous? Does that scare you when you're thinking about your own company?
No, not at all. No. I mean, also we have to consider that those organizations both have like facilities, right?
and a lot of staff
and things,
and
right?
a lot more overhead than you do.
Expenses that we just don't possess at this time. But theater is changing, right? In order for it to be affordable, in order for it to be sustainable, the way in which we create it, like on the business side of things, has to shift and change, right? And I've dealt with this thing like I need to pay all my actors massive fees always, right? We're in the theater. We're all underpaid. We're all overworked. Like this is just what it is, you know?
This is art.
If someone were to say like your company's not professional, I would challenge that, right? Because it absolutely is. Because the work is professional, and the people are giving everything. Right. And I'm a professional, and I'm leading the company, and my team is professional. And there is things that those community members have. Community members, we're all community members, but we can say those amateur actors have. That will lift everyone's performance and everyone's understanding, right? When you have someone on the stage for the first time and their heart is beating very differently than everyone else's, that is an energy in space that is like one of the most beautiful things, right? Not everyone who comes into the company is going to be Meryl Streep, right? Not at all. Then some of them aren't even going to go be actors, right? But I would never for a moment say that person is more of an artist because they have 20 seasons at Stratford and you're not an artist because you don't, you know? Somebody can make a painting in the basement. You're an artist because you just created something, you expressed.
What do you prefer? I mean,
I don't know.
Between acting and directing? It's a tough call.
Producing is the last one.
Because then you have to deal with money and budgets and logistics and all kinds of stuff that nobody likes doing.
I don't know. I think they're both beautiful. I think when I'm doing one, I'm like, this is bliss, I love this. And then I'm directing, I'm newer at, right? I haven't trained as much in it, it's all just kind of been like through doing it.
So is that your Billy then?
It's him, yeah, that's Roshan, yeah. He's wonderful. One up take.
Who knew? There's talent everywhere in this city. It's ridiculous. Now, obviously, you're also an actor. How did you discover the theater?
My cousins from Italy brought over a Backstreet Boys CD, like in the 90s. And then I took it in my room and I would like start dancing to it. And then I would make my nonna come watch me dance. And then she told me to like turn down the volumes if you could hear me singing, because I would kind of sing to it. And then I started singing, and then I just loved singing. I also saw Billy Elliot the film when I was like in grade 3 or 4. And I remember being so like riveted by it. And I was like, I want to do that. Because I'm from Garson, right? Like everybody in my class played hockey. And then I discovered, I did my first production with Theatre Cambrian, Nanny Gets Your Gun. And I just met some like incredible people, and I think that's what confirmed for me, like I want to do the theater because of the people I met and the friendships I made.
We just had a bit of a conversation about how you define professional and artist and all of those things, but how, I mean, for you, what would you consider your first professional role?
It's hard because when I think back, like everything kind of felt the same, but when I did Oliver with Theatre Cambrian was the first time I felt like I had a responsibility. And
responsibility
to a story and to an audience. And I think that's when I was like, okay, this is something really.
It wasn't just about fun and make believe.
No, at that point it was like, there's something, I have a job to do in this, right? I wasn't being paid for that, right?
No, you were already kind of working professionally before you went to theater school. So why go?
You know, you wouldn't let a heart surgeon open your heart unless they had 57 years of schooling or whatever, right?
57,
like, it's just, it's insane.
56, give or take a year.
So training is important, right? And I acknowledge that people do get training on the job, of course, and there are brilliant actors, right? Brilliant actors who have never gone to theater school per se, right?
Never stepped foot in an acting class in their life.
So, but for me, I think it was integral for me to like, to be in the gym, if you will, like to work out my senses. You know, because of the work we're doing in the class, is so personal, right? You're laying on the floor and you're talking about your feelings and you're going through all these journeys with characters and people and emotions and things.
It's a bit group therapy in a lot of ways.
It absolutely is, right?
You know, it's easy for somebody to look at you and go, holy crap, like, what can't this kid do? And I'm sure you get that. I'm sure you get that sometimes. I'm sure there are people who look at you and go, yeah, okay, settle down. But I mean, have you failed, or have you failed yet? Have you? I mean, it hasn't all been clear sailing.
Yeah, of course.
Right? It couldn't have been.
I think failure is a matter of perspective too. And I'm like really, really not pessimistic at all. Right. Like innately, I just don't believe in. I feel like it's a choice to be that way. Sure. In some people's eyes, like sure there could have been failures, but in mine, I'm like no. Like even if we lost a lot of money on a show, I'm like it was still like a dope piece of art. Yeah. So I'm like it's fine, you know. But yeah, there have been mistakes, but we grow. You know, we grow. Yeah. We grow.
You know, you and I have known each other for a long time.
You're good at this. Yeah. This is great.
Well, you're good at all of
it. It's like Broadway.com.
You hear that, Broadway.com?
Yes.
I'm available.
Yes. Get in there.
I'm really not. But, you know, it's been great to just kind of sit here and talk shop with you, you know. So break a leg with the show.
Thank you.
And keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you.
It's great. So,
thank you.
Nice.
Awesome. Good.
Good. That brings us to the end of another episode of Sudbury.com's Person of Interest. Thank you so much to Alessandro Costantini for sitting down with me and talking shop like the old days, and thank you so much for watching. Don't miss Billy Elliot the Musical on stage at the Sudbury Theatre Centre August 4th to the 20th. Now, if you have an idea for a person of interest, get in touch with me by email or by Twitter. And keep checking back to Sudbury.com for more brand new episodes of Person of Interest in the weeks to come. For Sudbury.com, I'm Callum Rodia.